When you think about picture organization, what comes up for you? For me, it's a lot of stress. So I had Haleh from Picturli come on to speak with me about organization, how we can organize our pictures to get them photo book ready. So if this is something you struggle with as well, I'd love for you to listen in. Welcome to Moving Through Midlife. I am your host, Courtney, a personal trainer and movement specialist who wants to help you move through midlife with more grace. Each week, we will discuss ways we can show up better for ourselves and our children without the burnout. We will focus on overall health through habit stacking to help increase energy, provide movement snacks to help you move more throughout the day while also moving your body more, and learn from professionals on moving through midlife with ease so that you can feel confident with aging gracefully. Grab your earbuds and join me on a leisurely walk while we discuss moving through midlife. Haleh is the founder and CEO of Picturli, a photo organization, curation, archiving, and design studio that helps families, individuals, and businesses transform their photo mess into one sortable digital library. She firmly believes that our family histories and personal memories are some of the most valuable treasures we can have, and that preserving and sharing them is essential for our future generations. I hope that you enjoy our conversation. We had a lot to talk about. Hello, Haleh. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I am excited to be able to speak with you and learn from you because you have the company Picturely. And I want to know first a little bit about yourself and what made you start Picturely.
Yeah, there's several different factions that went into Picturely being born.
Okay.
One of which was I just love doing photo books. I had a big girl job in advertising for decades. And I was working with a life coach in 2015. And she was like, "What do you love doing?" And I was like, "You know what? I really, really love making photo books." Because it was just something I never had my own kids, but I have tons of nieces and nephews from my friends mainly. I have three of my own nephews, and I would go there with my camera. I'd do a little photo shoot with them, and then I would make their calendars and things like that. And it just would bring all of us so much joy. We'd cry together, we'd laugh together. And then my coach was like, "Okay, well, let's see if we can make a business out of this." And I was like, "Who's going to pay me to do a photo book?" Well, lo and behold,
Mhm.
8 years later, 6 employees, an 1,800 square foot studio in Los Angeles. Here we are.
That's so exciting. Now, you love to make photo books. Can you explain maybe how you create photo books in the way of so the other day my children were going through my scrapbooks. Do you
Oh, yeah.
remember
Oh, yeah. We get a lot of
books?
that.
Yeah, do you? Okay. And then we also went through the like Shutterfly style books where there were lots of verbiage. Does Picturely is it kind of a scrapbook idea or is it mainly pictures?
We need to back up a little bit from the photo books. It's funny because
Okay.
I got into this business wanting to do photo books. And then I
Oh, okay.
realized people have their photos everywhere. There's analog stuff, meaning the older photos, the scrapbooks, the items that we have inherited from our grandmother and our moms. It's our childhood stuff, photos stuck in albums, things like that, right? And then we have things on tape, let's say slides, negatives, film reels. So I would have clients saying, "Well, we kind of do want a photo book, but can you help us with this first?" And then, of course, the same clients or other clients would say, "I have no idea where all my digital photos are. I think I'm in Shutterfly and I think I'm in Snapfish. I think I do Google. I'm not sure if I'm backed up or synced. I don't know what all that is. I'm really overwhelmed. I help." So that's where that's the real work that we do, is to help families and institutions really organize and archive all of their memories, and then we can get to the photo books. So we do three things really well. We do analog to digital, and then we do the digital stuff where we gather everything from everywhere, take out the duplicates, and put everything in a chronological order, and then we can create whatever it is that our clients want. So in terms of the photo book, to answer your question, my style, I'm a minimalist in terms of stylistically for photo books. I think I'm really good at curation, which is why the tagline of my business is Picturli Curated. We really heavily curate any collection that we receive, whether it's analog or digital, because we really want to be able to provide our clients with their best of photos. So with that in mind, I once we do that, I just want to let the photos shine on the page. So I'm not really into embellishments. I do love some captions because if you think about it, the work that we do is all often through the lens of leaving a legacy for your great grandchildren. So if we're working on a book together, what do you want your great grandchildren to know about that trip that you went with your family, or about your graduation? Like, how did you feel? Like, what was your what was your accomplishment? And it's really through that lens.
I love that because I know for myself, like I had mentioned with the scrapbooking, is it allowed for a lot of conversations. So
Yeah.
I was then talking, we weren't really reading any of the things because really that it just was not pertinent to the conversations that we were having. So I love that about Picturely. So with analog, I'm thinking, especially in today's age, you've got, for many of us, we have been gifted a box or shoebox or even larger box
Or a
of,
garage full in many cases.
oh my goodness, pictures that, here, do what you want with them. That's what my mother did to me. Take these, these are all yours. And then we have our photos that are now, like you mentioned, sitting here in 10 different clouds. How do you recommend we go about starting to organize all of this into one space?
Yes, absolutely. So, first of all, when you want to tackle a project such as this, just pack a lot of patience because and give yourself tons of grace. Working with photos is extremely emotional and it's very technical, especially digital stuff, right? So I would say the first thing for all of our projects, whether you're DIYing it or you're hiring someone, the first thing to do is to gather. So the first thing to do is for us, I mean, I have a server at work, so we don't need to get external hard drives. But if you're trying to tackle this for yourself, I would get an external hard drive that is at least 4 terabytes. I mean, the drives are so cheap these days that you can get a 4 terabyte hard drive on Amazon for like $100 now. 4 terabyte or larger. I have no idea how many backups you have, but if for each backup that you have, consider 1 terabyte, right? And then start slowly and start downloading items from all the places that you have essentially squirreled your photos. Shutterfly is really tricky because I call it the photo jail because it's really difficult to get your photos out of Shutterfly. There is a method where you have to actually ask them to send you a link for originals. And it works well, but it's really tricky because sometimes it's a little bit confusing. And there are, it is hard to get photos out of many of these platforms. I think like with Google, you have to take Google Takeout to get your photos out. Apple is the easiest to be able to take your photos out. But that's the first course of action is to gather all your items, gather the old computers, the old thumb drives, CDs, DVDs, all that stuff. And there are local vendors that can help you get stuff off of those types of tapes and devices if you're not able to. So gathering is the first thing to do. I'm actually a professional certified photo organizer. and we belong to a organization called the Photo Managers. And so if someone's looking for a professional photo organizer in their city, in their state, they can visit the photomanagers.com to be able to find someone. And of course, like I have clients globally. I have clients in the Middle East and all over Europe, all over United States that work with us and send us their stuff. So we can work with that as well. But that's another option.
Okay. And then once we've gathered them, is there a place on your website where we can house everything?
Well, no. Once
Okay.
everything is, if you guys are thinking about hiring someone, I would highly recommend talking to that company first in terms of what your goals are, and then I'm assuming everyone who's listening to this probably has a job. So it's overwhelming to take something like this on unless you are either about to get retired or already retired, and and you're technically savvy and you kind of are excited about this. So otherwise, there's nowhere to house anything on our website per se, but we definitely have methodologies to be able to download assets for our clients to be able to help them organize stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm wondering, like, when we have all of these pictures,
Hmm.
what the best way is to convert them to computer.
Yeah. And that is I would say have a goal in mind in terms of how you want to enjoy your items. In terms of just if you want to start slowly, I would just start with your camera roll, like what you have in your hand. You have
Okay.
an extremely powerful tool in your hand. Whether you have an Android or an iPhone, you are taking lots of photos and probably not going through and curating and calling out your photos. So there's different strategies that I recommend for listeners and our clients. One is to like one of the strategies I teach people is to pick a date. Like so today's May 21st, and go through each year's May 21st. And it won't be that much. I mean, at least it's
That's
not as overwhelming than going through 27,000 photos and videos, right? So
right.
you just pick a date and go through each year's date and just curate stuff out, delete things or heart things, make sure you choose your favorites, because that way when it comes time to, let's say your son's graduation is coming up, that way you'll be able to go into your favorites and just pick out your favorite photos of your family members and make a quick collage for him or make a quick photo book for him, which is actually what we're doing with many of our clients right now whose kids are about to graduate. So it really helps to just sort of to go through it that way.
Okay.
Another way is on your phone. If you go into albums and you scroll all the way down in albums, you're able to see the different media types. So I'm sure you'll click on screenshots, for example, and you'll see, oh my gosh, I have 3,000 screenshots. Well, why? I mean, half of those are mistakes. The other half are sayings or quotes that you really liked. Maybe you saw it on Instagram, and maybe there's a recipe. So there's ways of saving those photos and organizing them to get them off your camera roll and still have access to them. There's a lot of different sort of methodologies in order to be able to clean up your camera roll and still have access to your photos. Yeah.
Okay. Do you recommend any specific place to keep your photos with it, like within apps? I feel like Amazon is that. Have you ever looked at that one?
Yeah, I actually am on all of the platforms.
Okay.
But so we believe in the 3-2-1 method, and we practice that with all of our clients. It's 3 copies of your data and 2 different types. So let's say there's one on a hard drive and there's one in the cloud and one backups elsewhere. So the hard drive should be actually duplicated and back to and placed either in a bank or in another family member's house. So in terms of like downloading, saving your photos, I recommend making sure that your photos are actually backed up on an external hard drive, because for you to put your photos in Google or Amazon or Apple, yes, those companies are good, and I don't think they're going to go anywhere, but there's several things to consider. One is that your photos with those companies are synced. They're not backed up. What does that mean? It means that if you delete something from your computer or your phone, it's going to delete it from everywhere. The second thing is, actually, they could change their business models, like Costco Photos just did last year and decided, you know what, we don't want to do photos anymore. I had a lot of clients in an absolute panic, wondering how to get their photos out of Costco. So really, a true backup is to download your photos. And if you're on an Apple, make sure you have Time Machine. If you're on a Windows base, make sure your photos are just backed up to an external hard drive. And in terms of a secondary backup, the thing is, it actually can overwhelm you to have your photo. I have a client who's put her photos in iCloud, Dropbox, Shutterfly, and Google. And it's basically all the same stuff. And it just overwhelms her because she's like, I don't even know what's where. So choose one spot and, make sure everything that you're taking, everything that you may have scanned ends up in that one spot. For us, we don't really work in Apple, Google, or Amazon. We actually create private family websites on a platform called SmugMug,
Okay.
which allows us to really customize the way it looks. And it allows families, sort of larger type families, to be able to share it with their cousins or their parents, or, or not, or just enjoy it themselves.
Right.
And then we also do a lot in another platform called Forever, which you buy a vault and you add your photos to it, and then you can bequeath that vault to the next generation. And Forever works a little bit like Shutterfly, except they don't jail your photos. You can easily take your photos out. They house your photos high resolution. I can actually give you a link to put in the show notes for that.
Okay.
And then there's a third platform called Mylio, and that is for people who don't want their stuff in the cloud at all. The learning curve for Mylio is quite steep, but it is a very powerful program once everything's set up.
So I'm thinking through all of the pictures being everywhere, like you had mentioned with the one customer. How can we start to? I love that you mentioned like going back from today. So say today, then only look at May 21st for each year. I think that's a great way to do it. But say we're in May 21st and it happens to be, I don't know, our child's fifth birthday, and we've taken 300 pictures.
Of course.
How do we start to do you have any recommendations for how we take this huge all of these pictures and
Yeah.
condense them down?
Okay. I think it's a lot easier to curate and call on a computer rather than on your phone, first of all, because you see the
Okay.
photos larger. You can, swipe easier, or an iPad, just something bigger than your phone. And
Okay.
then my second thing is, just don't overthink it. You either love it or just don't overthink it. Yes, they're so cute when they're 5. I mean, they're still really cute, but they're so cute when they're 5. They're even cuter when they're 6 months old. Like, oh my God, how do you get rid of any photos? You know, but you don't need a lot. You just need, from a birthday party, I would say you need no more than 80 shots. But if you have a lot of people in that birthday party, right? Some people have really big families and they could have 100 people at a birthday party. In that case, yes, you're going to need more photos because you want to make sure that you're capturing everyone in there. But just follow your gut. There's a lot of, I think we tend to get stuck when we overthink about it. So take deep breaths, do this, the 7-4-8 method of breathing. And I'm not kidding. I actually tell my clients to do this when they want to do it. Just breathe in 7 counts, hold it for 4, and breathe out 8 counts. Do that like 3 or 4 times. Get your nervous system to calm down. and then start looking through the photos. And you'd be amazed at how quickly you can go, you know what? I'm going to heart this. So you just go through and heart it, and then you can go back and see what you haven't hearted. And then you could sort of say, I don't know if I want to delete those yet, but maybe I want to put them to the aside. And one of the tricks is to you can create a shared album with yourself. This is only for iPhone users. If you create a shared album with yourself, you could put those photos in a shared album and take them out, delete them from your camera roll. It'll still be in that shared album with yourself, but it won't show up in your camera roll. That's actually a trick that I teach a lot of business owners that take a lot of photos for their business, and then they're like, where's that photo of my son, and it's like, okay, you could do this trick and do a shared album with yourself, then delete it off of your camera roll. It's still there, it's not going to get deleted, and then that way your camera roll frees up and you can really see the ones you love.
Yeah, I'm an Android user. I think we can do similar with Google.
Yeah, I have Google Photos as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you could do a shared album with yourself and delete them, but I have to test that out actually.
Well, maybe not a shared album, but I know that I have moved pictures over from my phone into a folder and then gotten rid of them on my phone.
Yeah, they would get rid of them in the album. Be careful with
Mm.
that. Are you sure? Well, we'll have to test that out.
Now you're making me nervous.
Yeah, if you make an album and you delete it off of your camera roll, it deletes it from the album. If you delete it from the album, it's still in your camera roll. Does that make sense? Because what an album is essentially an alias of a bunch of photos, right? It's essentially what you're saying is, I want to be able to access my 2005 Hawaii pictures with my family. So you create, those photos are in your camera roll. You put those photos in that folder called 2005 Hawaii. And then so you can go, so it's creating like a collection or an alias of those photos in that folder.
Okay.
So if you delete it from from the album, then it's still in your camera roll. But if you're deleting it from your camera roll, chances are you will actually get a message that says, this will delete it from all devices and everywhere you're synced. You should get that message.
Okay. Okay. And I think it's because what I'm doing on my Android is not going directly into my Google. I have to actually physically move it. And
Got
that
it.
might
Do
be,
you have
yep.
do you have a Samsung? Is that what you
Yes.
have? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a little different. Yeah.
Okay.
Samsungs work a
I'm
little
like, wait a
differently.
second. Yes, but that is exactly what I do because it stores it in a Samsung folder and then I just have to
That's
move it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, but I got nervous for a minute. I'm like, no, I know that I've looked at this. So I've gone back. Okay. So you had mentioned with the 80 photos from our children's birthday. When do you recommend, like with the photo books, do you have, and maybe I'm sure everybody's different in how we do things, but I'm like trying to think about, would you do like a birthday photo album, or do you usually see yearly albums? How do you go? How do you, as someone who loves doing
Hmm.
these, how do you
I
organize this?
I think annual albums are amazing.
Okay.
It's so much fun to be able to just pull something off the shelf and go, what did we do in 2021? Well, we all know what we did in 2021. And
Nothing.
actually, the rate of photos went down by, I think, like something like 60%. And now we're back at it. But it's really fascinating, actually, because we do a lot of analog stuff. We got a really large collection from a client who had photos from the early century, and we had people in mask from from 1918.
Oh,
you know
wow.
so we put the great grandmother's mask next to their mask in their photo album. It was really funny.
That's cute.
um but annual albums are great. We are working this week. We're working with a client whose daughter is graduating in a couple of weeks, and we're doing an anthology for her daughter because a lot of kids had such a tough time in the last 4 years with high school. It's been such a hard journey for them. So trying to make something special for them to be able to enjoy and remember that their life is a lot bigger than just their teenage years, which is hard for teenagers, right, of course, and that they are loved, right? So there's so many ways of enjoying your photos and doing a special keepsake, whether you're doing it for a child or for a parent or just for your family. For families, I do highly recommend just an annual one. And if you do go to an epic trip once a year, take lots of photos, maybe you can supplement that annual photo book with your travel book.
And this is personal for me because my son is graduating. I was thinking of doing something for him. And would you recommend? Because at first I was like, okay, I'll do pictures of him throughout, like from childhood on. And then I was like, well, but like he's going to be away from us. Maybe he's going to want some pictures of his family too. Like then I started overthinking it and getting, flustered. I'm just going to send everything to you and just be like, figure it out.
you know, um, so I recommend, since you're on Google, Google has amazing facial recognition, right? You
Yes.
could go into his photos, just type in his name, go into his photos. I'm sure you've already done that. And so make an album of his, and then you can go into Google Takeout and just take out that album and then see like what photos you want to include. And if you are doing this on it is overwhelming to do this on your own, but there's great companies out there. I personally, for DIYers, I really highly recommend mpix, m like Mary, pix.com. I like their quality. It's archival. There's a couple of other companies which I need to kind of dig into my memory lane to provide, but you could do a photo album with them. Oh, there's also Artifact Uprising. I don't know. I think they're archival. So they also do beautiful products
Okay.
for DIYers. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so with yours,
Hmm.
you put it all together.
Yeah. We have programs where we can, essentially manage. Like we had a client that had 2.2 million files that we gathered from. I had to actually buy a server, especially for that client. It was so many files. It's like I don't even know how to even chew on this big giant animal. Like on the first pass of taking out the duplicates, I think we took out like 1.7 million, something like
Oh
that. It
my
was
goodness.
like insane amount of duplicates. And then we kept taking out duplicates. I mean, talk about someone who was really paranoid and kept taking multiple backups in different time frames. So I don't know how I got into that. Oh, but what was your question? Sorry.
Just um how
How do we
like we
handle it?
yes,
Oh,
how
yeah,
do
that was your
you
question.
handle? So if
Yeah.
we were to want to have you do something.
Yes. That's a really good question. I would organize it by year. Everything
Okay.
in our world, everything is chronological in the
Okay.
the world of organizing
Right.
because we want to be able to find photos chronologically. If you want to find your son's photo when he was 3, you got to go back 15 years from today, right? It's a chronological thing. So we put everything in a chronological folder, and then we design it based on that chronology.
Okay. And then you ship it out to
We
whomever.
use proprietary bookmaking companies that
Okay.
don't work with the general public. They only work with studios and photographers and things like that.
Okay, so we're looking at, so if we order through you, we are looking at a studio style photo book.
Absolutely, yeah. Everything we
Okay,
do is archival. We have our services and our products are very white glove, very exclusive.
okay.
You do it right, you do it once, you do it right with us.
Well, and that's one thing that I was thinking about is I've gotten Shutterfly photo albums in the past, and they're fine. The first few years they're great, and then now, I mean, I've got them from 15 years ago, and they're starting to fade, things are
It gets
falling
darker,
out.
actually.
What was
Yeah,
that?
they get darker. We call it in the printing world, we call it closing in. The inks are
Okay.
not archival, and neither is the paper. So what happens is the blacks start to spread, and the photos start to get darker. Same thing with my Apple. Remember when Apple used to do a lot of photo books, and it
Ah,
was so easy to go into your 2011 and just put in all your photos and pick out the best ones, and it's just so much easier that way. But unfortunately, a lot of them, they weren't making money, so they stopped doing that. And it's not archival. So yeah, it's terrible because we invest so much time and love into making these photo books, and then they close in. And yeah, so it is, just take your time and take out the best photos, download the best of, and and then start making a nice archival photo album on MPEX. It's so much worth it. Or give
okay.
it to us, and we'll provide you a beautiful keepsake that is archival.
Okay. Perfect. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, of course. Our website is picturli.com, and we provide a complimentary 20-minute consult to anyone who would like to talk to us. You can book that directly on our website. And we also have a giveaway for those who are interested in tackling their analog media. I have a 7-step guide where you could sign up again on our website. It's picturli.com/podcast.
Okay. And I'll
Or
put that in the
in
show
the show
notes.
notes. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
absolutely.
And if there was one thing that our listeners could do, it's giving them a little homework, what would you recommend they do this week to help organize their photos?
Take photos intentionally. Be intentional with the photos that you're taking. Take your time. Don't click on that shutter 5 million times. Just wait for the subject matter. I mean, if it's a child that is small, they're running around, of course you have to take a million photos to find that one good photo. But take photos intentionally, and if you have to take a lot of photos of the subject, go back through and heart the ones you like so that you can easily find them later. That's And then, lastly, make sure everyone on their camera has a lens, and these lenses get dirty. So make sure you clean that lens with the t-shirt that you're wearing, with the jeans that you're wearing. Just clean it up real quickly so that your pictures don't come out blurry and they are nice and crisp.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day for our conversation.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and found something to take away to help you practice healthier habits, move more, or handle the midlife and aging with grace. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or leave us a review to help us reach more moms just like you. Head to movingthroughmidlife.com to join the free community or learn how you can move more and feel better in your daily life.